I'm an economist. That means I spent a lot of my life looking at data. I look at efforts made to improve the job market, what efforts have succeeded and what efforts have failed and why. And I look at past trends, which help us anticipate future challenges. As has often been said, it's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. Looking at past trends might at least give you some clue about the future. So, what we're going to do today is share with you data on past trends. Data that is highly suggestive about the future labor market and society we must deal with. Dramatic change can happen and has happened in one lifetime. Today, the lifetime we're looking at is yours and mine. I was born in the 1950s and graduated high school, let's just say around 1970. I'm not alone. There are many individuals listening right now who also fit that description, and I'll take a minute to name a few of my fellow boomers, like Diana Seeger, or Dave Custer, or Mark Murray. As we looked around at our fellow graduates at the time, on average we could have measured that only 16.5% of the population were people of color. For some of you, that number may sound hard to believe, but it's true. 83.5% of the population was Caucasian. We would have had a similar economic outlook. For the generation of people born when we were in the early 1950s, close to 80% of us would earn more in our lifetimes than our parents did, just as our parents did better than our grandparents. By the time we were entering college in the early 1970s, the generation born in those years only had around 61% doing better than their parents. A big drop, but still a majority of the population. In the mid-1970s, as many of my generation were completing college, there was, of course, college debt. But its total value for the nation was only $5 billion. Even for many good jobs, a post-secondary education was optional, not required. As a result, only 19.3% of the population had earned an associate's degree or higher. At the time, median household income was just under $50,000. But times have changed. Let's jump forward to today, 2019, just to see how our nation has transformed for the typical high school graduate. Today, our nation's population consists of 40% being people of color. That's an enormous increase in roughly 50 years, within one lifetime. Furthermore, the number of individuals doing better than their parents has shrunk from 80% for those born around 1950 to around 60% for those born in the early 1970s to around 50% for those born in 1980 and beyond. Think about what that statistic means. If only 50% do better than their parents, 50% do worse than their parents. In some cases, much worse. In addition, college debt has absolutely soared from that 1970 amount of $5 billion to over $1.5 trillion, $1.5 trillion today. That is a comparison so great that I'll disappear as we illustrate the difference. And what about the importance of having some level of advanced training after high school? The percentage of individuals who now have at least an associate's degree has climbed to 42%, in part because today, additional training is essential to getting a good job, one that pays enough that you can support a family. But even with our much higher educational attainment, since 1970, median household income has remained stagnant. After 40 years, it hasn't risen up to $60,000. People are running faster and faster in an attempt to move ahead, but they are not succeeding in doing so very much. So what does this mean for a typical high school senior starting off a college career today? Let's meet a few, the present-day equivalents of my boomer colleagues from 1970, and hear from them what they're facing.
Well, I've always lived in Grand Rapids. I moved to East Grand Rapids, so that's where I graduated and everything. I'm the first kid to go to school, but yeah, like both my parents have like their degrees and stuff like that. In my mind, taking out loans, I mean, it's obviously not fun or anything like that. Then I figured that's kind of like a given, especially like today that most people are gonna have to go into it. I guess my dad still has loans, you know, that he's paying for. But I mean, I figured I was gonna have to do it either way, and I wanna go into like film or like editing videos and stuff. I really like to do that. Like, I hope to have enough. Like, I don't really expect anything to be like, I'm gonna be rich and famous one day. Like, be able to provide for myself and everything like that.
My grandparents, they're from Mexico. They moved here. Then my parents met. I'm the first one to actually graduate from high school, and then first generation to also go to college. My first semester, it was hard to start because like my parents, they tried their best to help me, but they didn't have the experience. I work in the mornings. In the afternoons, I finish doing my homework. It's like too much pressure because my parents, every day I see them work hard and struggle just to give us food. And I also think maybe I should just work more hours in McDonald's so I can help my mom as well. I know I want to do something in the medical field. So maybe I could be like a medical assistant and just go up the level, to hopefully be a doctor so I can make them proud.
Neither of my parents graduated. I try and base some of my goals off of their accomplishments, but they really only accomplish so much. But that's one of the reasons I'm driven as well, is because I want to achieve a lot more than they were able to. I feel like I have to work harder than everybody else to be noticed at the same level. I got really heavy into making music my freshman year and decided that that's the area I want to continue my career path in. I guess the biggest thing that has been stressful for me, the fact that I only have 24 hours in a day. I was working part-time over the summer, but I had to pay for school, so I just picked up a third shift, working 40 hours a week, just because that's the only schedule that I can work full-time, get to school, get a little bit of sleep. I do feel like we deal with a lot more challenges than our parents did. Just trying to stay away from all this stress and having a lot of anxiety and stuff.
As you can see, these young individuals are facing challenges we couldn't have dreamed of when we graduated from high school. And what they are facing portends particular challenges for our nation. First, take a look at how much the percentage of people of color is going to grow by 2044. Individuals like Dayon and Leslie will be in the majority, comprising over 50% of our population. At the same time, if we do nothing, it is quite plausible that the current reality of only half the population doing better than their parents will continue or even worsen. It seems likely that we will have a society with many more citizens of color, but many of them with lower levels of economic success. The median incomes of blacks and Hispanics are not just below where Caucasians are now, they are below where Caucasians were in 1970. And yet college debt will continue to grow as those striving to do the best they possibly can incur greater tuition and training costs. The data paints a picture. History reinforces that picture, either for the better or for the worse. And for the sake of ourselves and the next generation, young men and women who will succeed within our lifetimes, we need to commit to solutions that are more inclusive.
The competitive differences between our companies can be advantages. So let's say, for example, one company's more inclusive than another. The data says they'll thrive. They will do better. If we have great transportation, all businesses, all boats rise if we do that. This is the same category with the notion of inclusion and thinking about diversity. So the weight of the problem can be offset by the collegiality or the coming together of really what I would say powerful people with lots of resources. Well, what I'm most proud of in West Michigan in the business community is I know the hearts of all these people, which is they are at large in service of others. So it's got the right underpinnings for being one of the best places for inclusion, because this is an in-service kind of requirement. You've got to see your job is to enable and empower here. And so I believe that part of the world will step up and be one of the leaders in the world doing this.
I guess just having more, because I feel like scholarships are so limited. It'd be cool if there was just more people that could have access to them. that would be nice.
One thing that a lot of people of my generation would ask for, I wouldn't ask for a handout, more so an opportunity, like a day-to-day mentorship, an insight to how one can become successful.
My parents are working hard for us. They would tell me, we want you to be something in the world, something better than us. You have the great opportunity. We want you to be useful, something more.